As dawn bleeds into the golden skin of the African plains, the Maasai Mara awakens, not with a whisper, but a raw and thunderous heartbeat that seems to echo from the cracked earth itself. The sun rises like a spotlight over a colossal stage, illuminating an ancient theater where every actor is both hunter and hunted. There are no rehearsals in the Mara, no second takes. Here, survival is unscripted, brutal, and often beautifully chaotic. The landscape is a painter's fever dream. Endless waves of sunburnt grasslands that ripple in the wind like an ocean of gold, scattered with acacia trees that stand like twisted umbrellas shading the drama below. The sky stretches in every direction, a blue canvas so wide it swallows clouds and thoughts alike. Herds of wildebeest stretch to the horizon in motion like dark river currents. Elephants cast their shadows across watering holes, and vultures circle high above, always ready for nature's next failure. It's a place where beauty and blood exist in the same breath, and the air hums with the possibility of both life and death. Every inch of the Maasai Mara pulses with competition. The ecosystem is finely tuned like an orchestra made of claws, hooves, and fangs. From the tiniest dung beetle rolling its prized ball under the weight of the sun, to a pride of lions basking in regal lethargy after a nighttime massacre, everything plays its part in this symphony of survival. There's no room for mercy here, only efficiency. Even the Mara's beauty has teeth. What makes this land truly unique is its rhythm, an ancient beat dictated by the migration of millions of hooved pilgrims. The Great Migration is more than an event. It's the Mara's pulse, a stampeding reminder that nature doesn't wait. Wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles cross from the Serengeti into the Mara in search of greener pastures, unintentionally dragging along a retinue of opportunistic killers. For predators, this is an all-you-can-eat buffet with hooves. For the prey, it's a never-ending episode of who wants to not get eaten today. But even when the migration is dormant, the Mara is never still. Dry seasons bring thirst, and thirst brings danger. The rivers become both sanctuary and trap. A gazelle might approach the water for a drink, not knowing a pair of crocodile eyes watches from beneath the surface like twin emerald daggers. Meanwhile, vultures perch atop bare branches, their feathered collars ruffled like old aristocrats waiting for the drama to unfold. This isn't some neatly narrated nature show. It's the gritty, unfiltered reality of Africa's wild frontier. The Mara is not just about the mighty and magnificent. Even its smallest inhabitants seem to have a flair for drama. Mongoose dart through the grass like caffeinated sausages, daring cobras to a duel they often win through sheer sass. Weaver birds obsessively construct hanging nests like tiny architects with control issues. And termites, those underestimated engineers, shape entire mounds that act like skyscrapers for the insect world, complete with underground air conditioning, by the way. Take that, modern humans. And then there's the light. Oh, the light. Sunrise paints everything in gold, a deceptive calm before the chaos. By noon, the sun reigns supreme, baking the land into a shimmering mirage. Come dusk, shadows stretch like fingers across the plains, and the mood shifts. The air cools, but the tension heats up. Predators stir. The lions yawn with blood-stained jaws. Leopards emerge from the camouflage of branches, and the hyenas begin their cackling chorus that sounds suspiciously like evil laughter. Night doesn't fall in the Mara. It creeps, stalks, and then pounces. Even the seasons wage their own wars. The wet season transforms the Mara into a lush green paradise, teeming with life and potential. Newborns stumble across the grass, and predators sharpen their senses for easy prey. But the rains also bring floods, drowning the careless and erasing trails like a sly magician. Then the dry season arrives like a ruthless dictator, cracking the earth and pushing every creature toward desperation. Hunger makes enemies out of neighbors, and thirst makes fools out of even the cleverest animals. Time in the Mara is measured not by clocks, but by footprints in the dust and the distance between predator and prey. It is a place where the rules are old, older than humankind, etched into the DNA of every creature that dares to call this land home. The Maasai people, whose presence graces this landscape as much as the lions and elephants, understand this balance intuitively. They've shared space with these wild inhabitants for centuries, living not as intruders, but as part of the equation. Even their traditional red shukas seem to bleed into the land, as if they too are threads in the Mara's tapestry. And oh, how the Mara tests everything. Strength, speed, stealth, endurance, intelligence. Every trait is put through a trial by fire, or more accurately, a trial by tooth and claw. The lioness must stalk through searing grass to bring down a gazelle. The zebra must outmaneuver the cheetah in a deadly sprint. Even a baby giraffe must find its legs fast, or risk becoming a spotted snack. In this world, evolution isn't a theory, it's a daily audition for the right to live. Yet for all its dangers, there is a hypnotic elegance to it all. The kill is not evil. The chase is not cruel. They are simply necessary. The Mara does not allow for sentimentality. Its beauty comes precisely because it's unfiltered, untamed, and unapologetically raw. There is grace in a lion's pounce, just as there is tragedy in the final bleat of a fallen antelope. Each act is a thread in a story woven over millennia, one that continues to unfold with each sunrise. Standing at the heart of it all, you feel small, wonderfully, insignificantly small. The kind of small that reminds you that you are merely a guest in a realm that obeys no human rules. You don't walk through the Mara, you tiptoe, wide-eyed and humbled, as if nature herself might glance your way and decide your fate with a twitch of her tail. This is the Maasai Mara, raw, radiant and ruthless, a place where life and death do their dance in front of an audience of silent trees and whispering winds. A place that, for all its danger, welcomes us into a story older than civilization. It is quite simply the world as it was meant to be, wild, free and stunningly alive. And this? This is only the beginning. If the Maasai Mara were a kingdom, and in many ways it is, then the lions are not just kings, but emperors, warlords and mob bosses, all rolled into one. Their roars echo across the plains like thunder cracking open the sky, a sound that can shake the courage of even the bravest souls. It isn't just a vocal display, it's a declaration of ownership, a lion's way of saying, this land, these herds, this whole burning stretch of savanna, mine. And in the Mara, possession is everything. Land means prey, prey means power, and power means survival, not just for the lions, but for the entire bloodline they guard like a royal treasury. At first glance, the lions of the Mara may seem like the poster children of African grandeur. They lounge under shady acacia trees, yawning like bored celebrities on safari, draped in their sun-bleached manes with an air of lazy royalty. But beneath that regal facade lies a brutal, never-ending chess game of dominance and deception. These coalitions, the brotherhoods of male lions that rule over prides, aren't just lounging. They're resting between wars. In this sun-scorched kingdom, a lion coalition is the most feared alliance on four paws. Often made up of 2 to 6 males, these coalitions are typically formed between brothers or close relatives who've survived the chaos of adolescence together. Growing up in the Mara isn't exactly a playground. Young males are kicked out of their birth prides by their fathers or dominant males the moment their manes begin to darken, and their testosterone levels start rising like Mara's river in the rainy season. It's nature's way of avoiding awkward Game of Thrones scenarios. What follows is a nomadic life of hardship, exile, and a whole lot of close calls. But exile has a purpose. It hardens the outcasts. They form coalitions, bond through shared hunger and near-death escapes, and bide their time. When they're strong enough, lean, muscled, and mad with ambition, they return to the Pride Lands like a storm long foretold. The invasion is swift, brutal, and often silent. In the dark hours before dawn, they launch their campaign. The reigning males barely have time to react. Roars clash in the darkness, and blood is shed not for food but for legacy. These are the Pride Wars, vicious, unapologetic, and deeply personal. When a coalition topples the old rulers, they don't just take over territory, they seize everything. Land, hunting rights, and the most coveted prize, the lionesses. But nature is ruthless in its bookkeeping. The new kings will often commit infanticide, killing all cubs sired by the former rulers. It sounds monstrous, and it is. But this act forces the lionesses into estrus, allowing the new males to father their own cubs and ensure their genes dominate the next generation. It's not evil. It's biology wrapped in the cloak of brutality. Lionesses, though sleek and graceful, are no helpless victims in this saga. They are fierce protectors, lethal hunters, and strategists in their own right. Many will fight to protect their cubs, or even flee into exile temporarily, dodging the wrath of incoming males until the danger passes. But even lionesses know the law of the Mara. Survival is paid in compromise, and lineage is everything. Often they submit to the new regime, choosing survival over defiance. And within a few months, new cubs are nursing at their sides, and the pride breathes anew under different rulers. The drama doesn't stop with the takeover. Holding power is a full-time job in the Mara. Every day is a patrol. Every roar from beyond the hills could signal another coalition on the march. Territorial boundaries are not marked with fences, but with scent, roars, and skirmishes. A single night of complacency could lead to another coup. This is a kingdom forever at war with shadows. Some of the most legendary coalitions in the Mara's history have left scars on the land. Tales of brothers who ruled for years, others who were betrayed from within, and a few that fell to younger, hungrier usurpers. And then there are the rogues, the loners. These males either never formed coalitions or were cast out from failed alliances. Alone they drift like ghosts, avoiding pride lands yet never far from trouble. Rogues are wild cards, unpredictable, desperate, and often driven by a singular obsession to claim territory of their own. And though rogues often meet brutal ends, some become legends. Every now and then, a rogue male, scarred, older, with nothing to lose, sneaks into pride territory, outsmarts the resident males, and takes over with cunning rather than brute strength. These are the rebels of the Mara, the Clint Eastwoods of lion society, walking into the bar with a limp and walking out with the crown. Even within established prides, life isn't all about lounging in the shade and sharing zebra meat. Mating rights are hotly contested, and even within a coalition, jealousy simmers. While one male mates, another watches, sometimes waiting, sometimes challenging. Coalitions that lack strong social bonds can fracture, and when they do, infighting weakens the group, making them vulnerable to outside challengers. It's like a mafia family tearing itself apart from the inside just as a rival gang rolls into town. Yet despite the endless cycle of conflict and conquest, there is something undeniably majestic about the lion's role in the Mara. They are not just predators, they are regulators of balance. By hunting the weak and culling the vulnerable, they help maintain the health of the ecosystem. A pride on the move shifts the behavior of prey, redistributes grazing pressure, and indirectly gives rise to the patterns of movement seen across the plains. Lions are the pulse of the Mara. When they roar, the savannah listens. Still, for all their might, even lions are not immortal. Injuries fester. Age dulls fangs. A former king, ousted and limping, may wander for days, starving, forgotten by his pride, haunted by the scent of cubs that no longer bear his name. And as he fades into the dust, a new coalition rises, maimed, muscled, and hungry for power. The wheel turns. This is the saga of the Lion Kings, a tale not of peace and prosperity, but of constant battle. Power here is not inherited. It is earned, bloodied, and defended tooth and claw. And the Mara, ever watching, ever impartial, offers no crown, only the fleeting illusion of one. As the sun sets over the acacia trees, the silhouette of a pride emerges in the amber light. Cubs tumble, lionesses groom, and a dominant male surveys his kingdom with the tired eyes of a ruler who knows peace is temporary. Somewhere in the distance, a roar answers his own, long and low, a reminder that in this wild land of blood and beauty, the throne is never safe, and the game never ends. Out on the open plains of the Maasai Mara, where golden grasses stretch to infinity, and every gust of wind seems to carry the scent of tension, the cheetah exists like a flame in the wind, fast, flickering, and always in danger of being extinguished. In a kingdom ruled by brute strength and brawling muscle, the cheetah is a paradox. Elegant but fragile, lightning fast but delicate, born to chase but cursed to lose. Survival here doesn't come easy for the sprinter of the savannah, and despite its unmatched speed, the cheetah is not a predator that commands respect through intimidation. No, it's the master of calculated risk, a gambler playing high stakes in a casino run by lions and hyenas. To understand the life of a cheetah in the Mara, you first have to watch the land from its eyes. Not from the perch of a vulture or the stealthy crawl of a leopard, but from the level of the grass, where every sound could be a signal and every shadow could spell doom. The cheetah doesn't have the luxury of lounging like lions or scheming like leopards. It is always moving, always calculating, because while it may be the fastest animal on land, it is also one of the most vulnerable. Speed is the cheetah's signature, of course, a freak of evolution designed for acceleration. Long legs, a lightweight frame, an oversized heart. and lungs that gulp air like a vacuum cleaner on steroids. In full stride, a cheetah can hit 100 kilometers per hour in just 3 seconds, which would make most sports cars blush in embarrassment. Its claws are semi-retractable, more like track spikes than traditional feline talons, giving it grip as it pivots and weaves through the open field. And that long, muscular tail? It's not just for decoration. It acts like a rudder, helping the cheetah whip around corners mid-chase like a furry Formula One car. But here's the catch. This magnificent speed is a burst, not a marathon. The cheetah can only sustain its top velocity for 20 to 30 seconds before its body begins to overheat, like a laptop left out in the sun. Its energy burns fast and furious, and once spent, it needs time, precious, dangerous time, to recover. That's the trade-off. Evolution gave the cheetah speed but not stamina, agility but not power. It can catch its prey, but can it keep it? That's the real challenge. The Mara is not a place that allows cheetahs to relax, not even for a minute. Lions, leopards and hyenas all outweigh it and outmuscle it. Even scavenging jackals can gang up and bully a cheetah off its kill. Which means every hunt is a tactical operation, not just a race. It begins with patience, hours of belly crawling through grass no taller than a dinner table, inching closer, step by excruciating step, until the moment feels right. The cheetah must get within 60 or so meters of its target, usually a young gazelle or impala. Too far, and the energy cost becomes too high. Too close, and the herd bolts before it even begins. When the chase erupts, it's a silent explosion. The air seems to bend around the cheetah's body as it closes the distance with terrifying precision. The herd scatters, hooves drum the ground, and the dance begins. The cheetah doesn't just run, it anticipates. It reads the zigzags of its prey like a chess master several moves ahead, adjusting mid-stride, using its tail to steer, its spine to stretch, and its claws to grip. When it connects, it trips its prey with a swipe or clamps down with a suffocating bite to the throat. But here, at the climax of the pursuit, the real problem begins. The cheetah is exhausted. Panting, overheating, barely able to move, it collapses beside its prize, desperate to catch its breath before the scavengers arrive. And they always arrive. Sometimes it's a single hyena, grinning with malicious glee. Other times a whole clan appears, laughing as they swarm like schoolyard bullies. 1 against 5, 10, 15. The cheetah doesn't stand a chance. With no real muscle to fight back, all it can do is snarl weakly and retreat into the grass, leaving its hard-earned meal behind. Other times it's a pride of lions, appearing like ghosts on the wind. Even vultures can force a cheetah to abandon its food, their circling shadows a grim countdown timer. And so the cheetah must eat fast if it gets to eat at all. It rarely finishes a kill. Instead, it gulps down as much meat as it can in 5 to 10 minutes before something bigger and meaner shows up to ruin its day. The Mara is not fair. It doesn't reward effort, it rewards power. And the cheetah, despite all its gifts, is a dainty athlete in a bar brawl. Yet somehow, against all odds, cheetahs persist. Their population is not vast in the Mara. Numbers are modest, and every cub born is a minor miracle. Mothers are fiercely dedicated, raising litters on their own, constantly relocating to avoid detection, feeding themselves and their young while avoiding lions, leopards, and even baboons. Cub mortality is high, heartbreakingly high. But every now and then, a young cheetah reaches adulthood, sleek and sharp-eyed, ready to join the eternal gamble. Male cheetahs sometimes form small coalitions, brotherhoods that hunt and live together, offering a slight edge in survival. These partnerships help defend kills a bit more effectively and make territory defense possible, at least on a small scale. But even as a duo or trio, cheetahs are playing a dangerous game. The plains are wide and the shadows are full of enemies. What truly sets cheetahs apart, though, is their temperament. They're not aggressive like lions or territorial like leopards. They're gentle in their own wild way, more observers than tyrants, more ghosts than rulers. They don't roar, they chirp, purr, and yelp. They don't linger, they move on, always running, always aware. If lions are the kings, cheetahs are the rogue artists, brilliant, misunderstood, and just trying to make it through another day without being robbed. In a world designed to favor the strong and the savage, the cheetah's continued existence is a quiet act of rebellion. It survives not through dominance but through sheer audacity. It sprints where others sneak. It gambles where others hoard. It risks everything for every meal. And while the Mara may not be built for the cheetah, it has carved out a place here, not by force, but by finesse. As the sun dips low and paints the grass in long golden stripes, a solitary cheetah stalks through the silence. Its eyes are locked on a herd in the distance. The wind is right, the light is fading. Somewhere behind a termite mound, muscles coil. The next chase is seconds away. And once again, the fastest creature on Earth is about to risk it all, because in the Mara, speed is glory, but strategy is survival. As the golden sun of the Maasai Mara dips behind the acacia trees and the sky fades from copper to ink, a different kind of rhythm begins to beat across the savannah. The drama of the day, the elegant hunts, the lion siestas, the frantic zigzagging of gazelles, gives way to a more chaotic, unfiltered, and frankly noisier shift. The night belongs to the hyenas, and not the snickering, cowardly clowns pop culture has painted them to be. No, the real hyenas are organized, relentless, and frighteningly intelligent. They are the shadow cartels of the Mara, part mob, part militia, and all teeth. From a distance you'll hear them before you see them. A rising crescendo of whoops, giggles, and cackles that sound like laughter, if laughter were invented by a demon with a sense of irony. These calls aren't random, they're coded messages. Distress, victory, territory alerts, roll call, they all have a whoop for that. What sounds like madness is, in fact, a language, a system. And in that system, every hyena knows their place. Hyenas live in matriarchal clans, which immediately puts them on the socio-political map as one of the few mammal societies led by females. And not just any females. The matriarchs of hyena society are bold, brawny, and terrifyingly dominant. They lead with bite and brains, enforcing strict hierarchies that even the males dare not challenge. In fact, even the lowest-ranking female outranks the highest-ranking male. It's a society flipped upside down from the usual narrative, and it works with brutal efficiency. Their power is not just in dominance, but in numbers. A single hyena might be cautious, strategic, almost shy, but a group, a proper clan, can number anywhere from 20 to over 80 individuals. And when they move like a military unit, coordinated, purposeful, deadly. They are constantly patrolling, mapping scent trails, identifying weaknesses, and planning assaults, not just on prey but on competitors. These aren't scavengers scrounging for leftovers. These are opportunistic tacticians, equally capable of hunting down their own meals or stealing someone else's with methodical aggression. The myth of the cowardly scavenger has stuck to the hyena like mud, and it couldn't be more misleading. Yes, hyenas scavenge. So do lions, so do leopards, so do humans for that matter. But hyenas are also highly capable hunters. In fact, in many regions of Africa, including the Mara, up to 70% of their meals come from kills they've made themselves. And unlike the cinematic pounce of a leopard or the explosive sprint of a cheetah, a hyena hunt is a slow, relentless march of death. Endurance is their weapon. They don't need to be fast. They just need to keep going until the prey collapses. Like furry, jogging grim reapers with powerful jaws and an iron will. And those jaws. Oh, those jaws. A hyena's bite force is one of the strongest among mammals, capable of cracking open bones like they're breadsticks. It's not just for show. They eat almost everything. Bones, hooves, hides, tendons, nothing goes to waste. Their digestive system is a biochemical marvel, turning calcium and cartilage into fuel. What other predators leave behind in disdain, the hyena turns into dinner. Efficiency at its finest. But perhaps the most astonishing thing about hyenas is their brains. In terms of raw intelligence, they rival primates in social complexity and problem-solving skills. They recognize hundreds of individuals within and outside their clan. They use intricate vocalizations to coordinate group movements. And in experimental studies, spotted hyenas have outperformed chimpanzees in cooperative problem-solving. That's right. Chimpanzees, the go-to species for smart animal fame, were left scratching their heads while hyenas cracked the code together. Not bad for creatures often dismissed as giggling ghouls. Yet despite their brilliance and brutal teamwork, life in a hyena clan is far from serene. The hierarchy is rigid, and the battles for dominance are constant. A young female born to the matriarch will inherit power like a mafia princess, but she must still fight for her standing within the upper ranks. Males, once they reach adolescence, often leave their birth clans and wander the Mara like nervous interns looking for a job. They'll approach new clans tentatively, enduring months, sometimes years, of harassment before finally being accepted into the lowest rung of the social ladder. Hyena dating life, it seems, is an extended hazing ritual. Still, males tolerate this because inclusion equals protection. A hyena alone in the Mara is a target, but within a clan the world looks very different. That clan can challenge a lion pride. Yes, even the mighty lions, those golden gods of the savannah, sometimes find themselves outmatched. A large hyena clan will not hesitate to mob a lion, especially if the lion is alone or distracted. It's not bravery, it's mathematics. A dozen snapping jaws, a cacophony of screams, and a relentless push can send even a lioness scrambling. And if a lion falls, the hyenas feast. They remember, they learn, they wait for weakness. Territory disputes between clans are even more dramatic. These cartels don't just fight for food, they fight for space, water access, and dominance. Border skirmishes can escalate into full-blown warfare, with dozens of hyenas clashing in a snarling frenzy. These conflicts are deafening, dangerous, and often decisive. The victors push their boundaries outward. The losers retreat, wounded and humiliated, nursing their pride and their punctures.
And then comes the aftermath, the eerie quiet before the next chaos. The hyenas settle.
They clean each other, rest, nurse their cubs in communal dens that buzz with activity and scent. These dens are the nerve centers of the clan, dug into the earth with multiple escape routes and chambers. Cubs tumble out like gremlins, biting ears, yelping in mock battle, already testing dominance long before their adult teeth grow in. Mothers are fiercely protective, often nursing each other's young, reinforcing the clan bond in ways that seem surprisingly tender for such ferocious creatures. As night deepens, the Mara transforms into the hyena's playground. They roam freely, emboldened by darkness, sweeping across the land like ghost patrols. Every scent, every sound is filed away. A leopard's half-eaten kill in a tree, a wounded wildebeest that might not survive the night. A lion cub left alone for too long. Opportunities wait around every bush and the hyena misses nothing. In the glow of moonlight, their eyes shimmer like coins in a well. They are not the villains of the Mara. They are not the laughing lunatics of animated infamy. They are survivors, strategists, and enforcers of a different kind of order. One born not of elegance, but of raw efficiency and unrelenting pressure. The Mara may crown lions as kings, but it is the hyenas who keep the night honest. They are the cleanup crew and the counterbalance, the opportunists and the enforcers. They don't rule from thrones, they rule from shadows. And when the rest of the savannah sleeps, the hyenas work. Always watching, always waiting, always hungry. The Maasai Mara, by day, is a bustling arena of sunlight and movement, where lions sprawl in golden grass, elephants parade through the bush like royalty, and zebras twitch their tails to an endless rhythm of alertness. But as the sun slinks away behind the horizon and shadows begin to lengthen across the savannah, the Mara undergoes a metamorphosis. It becomes quieter, cooler, darker, and suddenly the balance of power shifts. This is when the leopard emerges. Not with a roar or a charge or any grand announcement, no. The leopard slips into the world like a rumor, a whisper, a ghost with spots. To see a leopard in the Mara is to be touched by luck. These creatures are masters of invisibility, blending into trees, bushes, and even shadows with a precision that borders on the supernatural. One moment, you're gazing at a seemingly empty fig tree. The next, there it is. A muscular frame draped across a branch, half asleep and completely indifferent to your awe. It didn't arrive with a fanfare. It's been there, watching, waiting, calculating. The leopard doesn't need your attention. It prefers your ignorance. Unlike the lions that move in coalitions and the hyenas that operate in clans, leopards are creatures of solitude. They are the introverts of the predator world, unbothered by hierarchy, unimpressed by noise, and unwilling to share. Every leopard is a lone operator, patrolling a personal kingdom that stretches across rivers, ridges, and forests. Each one marks its domain with scent and claw, walking the same trails night after night with the silent confidence of an assassin, retracing a familiar route to the next contract. The leopard is not only a hunter, it is a planner, a creature of intense discipline wrapped in fur and stealth. Its body is a masterpiece of balance, short, powerful limbs that can climb like a monkey and pounce like a coiled spring. Its shoulders ripple under its coat like liquid bronze, its rosette patterns not just beautiful but perfect camouflage in a world of speckled light and fractured shadow. Where cheetahs chase and lions ambush, the leopard stalks. It moves through the tall grass without a whisper, calculating every step, every breath, every twitch of its whiskers. It does not rush, it does not stumble, it flows. Hunting for the leopard is not a spectacle but a performance of patience. It will spend an hour crawling 5 meters, its belly brushing the earth, eyes locked on an unsuspecting impala grazing near the tree line. Then, when the moment is perfect, when the angle, distance and wind all agree, it explodes. Not like a cheetah in a blur of speed, but with a surgical burst of precision. A leap, a clamp of the jaws, a brief struggle muffled in silence, and then stillness. The prey goes limp. The deed is done. But the leopard's work is far from over, because here in the Mara, killing is only half the battle. The real challenge begins after the blood cools. Lions steal, hyenas swarm, jackals probe. Even vultures get a say in how long a carcass remains unguarded. But the leopard has a trump card, a trick no other predator in the Mara can match. It climbs, and not just for fun. It climbs with purpose. With Herculean strength and unbelievable agility, it hoists its kill, sometimes as heavy as itself, into the branches of a tree. This is not a show of ego. It's a strategy, a life-saving necessity. High in the canopy, the leopard dines in peace, shielded from ground-dwelling thieves. A zebra leg dangles from a fork in the branches. A pair of green eyes glint in the moonlight. All around, the Mara grumbles and breathes, but up here, the leopard is a ghost king, a solitary monarch dining above the law. Even lions rarely climb after them, and hyenas can only drool beneath the tree, frustrated by the sight of meat just out of reach. Despite their secretive nature, leopards are not immune to danger. Males will kill rival cubs to eliminate competition. Lion prides will pursue and kill leopards on sight, not for food, but because competition, even from the shadows, cannot be tolerated. Even hyenas, when they catch a leopard off guard or in the open, will risk an attack. The leopard knows this, and so it lives like a fugitive, always watching, always listening, always retreating before the threat can touch it. Stealth isn't just a hunting tactic. It's how the leopard survives in a world that rarely forgives weakness. And then there are the cubs, the few moments when leopards let their guard down, if only slightly. Leopard mothers raise their young alone, hiding them in rocky outcrops or dense thickets, returning only to nurse and groom. She is fiercely protective, teaching her offspring the ways of the shadow, how to stalk, when to strike, where to hide. Many will not survive their first year. The Mara is a cruel tutor, but those that do will grow into phantoms, inheriting the secrets of silence from the one who taught them to disappear. The leopard's movements are dictated by moonlight and instinct, by an inner clock honed over millennia. It walks trails that its ancestors have walked, slides through brush that remembers its scent, and vanishes down paths only it seems to know. Even its footprints are soft, shallow, barely impressions at all, suggestions more than evidence. To track a leopard is to chase a myth, and yet despite all their elusiveness, leopards are everywhere in the Mara, if you know where and how to look. A flick of a tail high in a tree, a twitch of muscle in the tall grass, a shape moving across the riverbank just before dawn. Their presence is not in what they show, but in what they withhold. The Mara belongs to lions in the daylight, but in the hours when the world turns silver and still, the leopard walks alone, unseen and undefeated. In this endless savanna, every predator plays a role in the survival script. Lions are the rulers, cheetahs the racers, hyenas the enforcers. But the leopard is the secret, the quiet threat, the quiet beauty, the ghost in the grass that writes its story in paw prints and tree bark, in silent hunts and vanishing acts. To see a leopard is to feel the Mara holding its breath. And if you don't see one, well, that's just how the leopard likes it. When the rains fall in the Serengeti and the grasses there begin to dry, the herds feel it first, not with their minds, but in their hooves. Millions of wildebeest, zebras and gazelles begin to move north, sensing water and fresh grazing lands. And so, as if summoned by an ancient and invisible conductor, the great migration rumbles toward the Maasai Mara, a living, moving tide of muscle and instinct, dust and fear. The animals do not know the boundaries drawn by humans. They know only the rhythm of life and survival. But to reach the green riches of the Mara, they must first cross a boundary that has swallowed countless before them, the Mara River. To most, the river is a ribbon of brown water, winding lazily through the savannah like a sleepy snake. But beneath its murky surface lies a congregation of nightmares. The Nile crocodile, prehistoric, patient, and perfectly built for ambush, waits. It waits not like a predator, but like a trap, unmoving, unblinking, and undetectable. These crocodiles are not merely hunting. They are conducting an ancient ritual of power, one that has been passed down through blood and still water since the time of the dinosaurs. Long before humans ever stood upright, these monsters were already here, watching rivers and waiting for anything foolish enough to touch the surface. In the dry months, the crocodiles are nearly invisible. They bask on muddy banks like driftwood come to life, their mouths gaping open in a toothy grin that's not friendly but thermoregulatory, cooling their bodies in the heat. Their backs are crusted with mud, their scales thick and ridged like the armor of ancient war machines. They are deceptively still, conserving energy, pretending to be dead logs. Some won't eat for weeks or even months, trusting the migration will come again, as it always does, bringing food in numbers too great to count. And then it begins. The thunder of hooves rolls across the plains, and the Mara River, once silent, becomes a theater of chaos. Dust clouds rise, predators circle, and the air smells of sweat, mud, and desperation. The herds reach the riverbanks in clumps, hesitant but pushed forward by the pulse of thousands behind them. There's no strategy, no plan, only momentum. It is madness wrapped in instinct, and for the crocodiles it is a banquet. When the first wildebeest steps into the water, time seems to pause. Then another follows, then dozens, then hundreds. They splash, they swim, they panic. The surface froths, and then the surface breaks. Like living torpedoes, the crocodiles surge upward. There is no warning, no dramatic splash. One moment the river is water, the next its jaws. The crocodile's attack is a choreography of terrifying precision. It doesn't chase, it erupts. With a surge of its massive tail and a violent twist of its armored body, it latches onto a leg, a flank, a snout, anything. And then it spins. This is the death roll, the crocodile's signature move. It doesn't just kill, it disorients, maims, and tears. Bones snap, water churns red, and the herd screams in a mixture of instinct and terror. The victims have no defense. Some animals drown before the crocodile can finish the job. Others make it to the other side with open wounds, limping survivors of a battle they never signed up for. Mothers lose calves. Calves lose mothers. The Mara River claims its toll without emotion, without mercy. And the crocodiles? They feed. Nile crocodiles can grow up to 20 feet long and weigh over 1,000 kilograms. Their bite force is one of the strongest in the animal kingdom, rivaling that of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Yet for all their physical power, their greatest weapon is patience. They have the uncanny ability to remain motionless for hours, even days, eyes just above the waterline, nostrils poking through like periscopes. They don't stalk. They don't chase. They simply wait for a splash, a slip, a moment of weakness. The river is their web, and they are the spiders lying in wait. Once a crocodile secures a kill, it often disappears into the depths with it. What happens under the surface is brutal and unseen. The body is rolled, twisted, and wedged under submerged branches or rocks, saved for later like a grim underwater pantry. Crocodiles don't need to feed daily. One good kill can sustain them for weeks. Their metabolism is slow, their needs precise. Efficiency, not greed, is the currency of their world. During the peak of migration, it's not uncommon to see dozens of crocodiles gather at key crossing points, ancient ambush zones passed down from generation to generation. These crossing points are not random. The riverbanks are steep in some places, shallow in others. Animals, creatures of habit and repetition, return to the same fords year after year. And the crocodiles? They remember. They've been waiting. But even the crocodile's supremacy has its challenges. Territorial disputes erupt between males, especially when the migration traffic is high. Brutal underwater battles play out silently, all muscle and thrashing tails, as rivals fight over access to prime ambush spots. The victor might hold the center channel where the herd flows thickest. The loser slinks away, scarred and hungry, biding his time for the next opportunity. And yet, for all their ferocity, crocodiles are not without vulnerability. Hatchlings, those tiny toothy noodles no longer than your forearm, are born into a world where everything wants to eat them. Birds, fish, monitor lizards, even other crocodiles. A mother may lay 50 to 60 eggs, but only a few will survive their first year. Those that do grow into miniature replicas of their terrifying parents, climbing the food chain inch by armored inch. Watching the migration from above, you might admire the perseverance of the wildebeest or the boldness of the zebra. But look into the water, really look, and you see the Mara's most patient killers, relics of a time when mammals were still ideas in evolution's notebook. The crocodile is not flashy. It doesn't roar or chase or leap. It doesn't need to. It lets the Mara deliver its meals. It lets desperation drive its prey. It lets time do the work. There is something deeply unsettling about a predator that doesn't seem to try. That kills not through effort, but through the absence of it. The crocodile is a reminder that in nature, power isn't always loud or fast. Sometimes it is quiet, still, waiting. And in the Mara River, the water always waits. So when the herds come, when the banks tremble with hoofbeats and fear, remember this: the crocodiles have been watching, longer than the herds, longer than the lions, longer than us. In the theatre of the Mara, they are the oldest actors on stage, and while the curtains may change and the cast may rotate, the river remains the same. Cold, deep, and hungry. The sun creeps over the eastern edge of the Mara with the lazy confidence of a kingdom that knows it will rain again. But today, the savannah does not wake gently. There is a tremor in the air, a rumble in the soil that grows steadily into a dull, rolling thunder. It begins far off, a murmur beneath the wind, and soon the golden grass ripples like it's alive. Then comes the sound, thousands of hooves pounding dry earth, a storm of motion, breath, dust, and muscle. The great migration has arrived, and with it the Mara exhales, ready once again to play host to one of nature's grandest, most chaotic spectacles. This is no ordinary gathering. This is an annual pilgrimage of epic proportions, where more than 2 million creatures, mostly wildebeest, but with an entourage of zebras and gazelles, move as one collective force in search of greener pastures. They are not migrating with a map or a plan. They are pulled by ancient instinct, weather patterns, and the invisible promises of rain. It's a journey measured not in miles, but in survival. For every hoof that strikes the soil, there is a claw waiting to strike back. And yet they go, because staying still in the savannah is a death sentence of its own. To witness the migration is to see the savannah breathe. Herds stretch from horizon to horizon, a living tide that floods across the land, reshaping it with every step. Dust clouds billow into the sky, thick as smoke, trailing behind waves of animals moving in apparent madness. There is no choreography, no clear leader. The wildebeest, with their twitchy tails and permanent expressions of mild panic, surge forward with all the grace of a disorganized school trip. The zebras, slightly more stylish with their barcode coats and bolder personalities, weave through the masses like confident guides, although they too are just guessing. And then there are the gazelles, delicate, bright-eyed, nervy creatures who flick their ears at every noise and leap as if the ground is too hot to stand still. But don't let the chaotic energy fool you. This is no disarray. Beneath the apparent disorder lies an ancient rhythm, a survival system fine-tuned by evolution. The wildebeest graze low, clipping the grass short. The zebras come next, eating the longer, tougher blades. The gazelles pick through the leftovers, searching for tender shoots. Together, they are a roving lawn care unit that reshapes the land, feeding predators, fertilizing soil, and spreading seeds as they go. Their migration is a miracle not only of movement, but of ecological balance. Yet, for all its beauty, the Great Migration is not a peaceful parade. It is a gauntlet of death. Every day on the move is a test, and the Mara is a merciless examiner. The slow fall behind. The injured disappear. The unlucky vanish beneath the feet of their own kind. Stampedes are common, panicked surges where fear overtakes logic, and a single misstep can lead to a pile of trampling hooves. In these moments, the herd becomes its own worst enemy, crushing what it cannot outrun, driven forward by blind instinct and the pressure of numbers. But the greatest challenge lies ahead: the Mara River. The river crossing is the climax of the migration, the stage where drama turns to tragedy and chaos reaches its crescendo. The banks swell with anxious bodies, eyes wide, tails flicking, nostrils flaring. The herd hesitates, sensing something wrong but unsure of what. And then, all at once, one brave or desperate soul takes the plunge and the dam breaks. Thousands follow, leaping, slipping, diving into the current in a frenzy of splashes and snorts. They swim with frantic energy, eyes rolling, legs churning, horns colliding, hooves clawing for any edge. And below the surface, the reapers wait. Nile crocodiles, those ancient monsters with eyes like polished stone, explode from the water with brutal efficiency. They clamp onto legs, necks, flanks, anything that offers a grip, and begin their signature move, the death roll. The river turns into a battlefield. Blood clouds rise, calves disappear, the current pulls the weak under, and chaos reigns. Some animals drown not because of crocodiles, but because of each other, trampled, suffocated, swept away by the press of terrified bodies. Even those who make it to the far bank are not safe. The mud is slick, the slope steep, and the crocodiles still hungry. Some animals collapse in exhaustion, unable to climb. Others are dragged back into the water by jaws that never let go, and then suddenly the frenzy is over. The last of the herd scrambles up the bank, soaked, bleeding, panicked but alive. The river returns to its quiet flow, and the vultures descend to clean up what's left. But the predators are not just in the water. Lions shadow the herd like ghosts with golden manes. They follow the migration not out of curiosity but out of strategy. For lions, the migration is a rolling buffet, a chance to gorge without having to patrol territory for weeks. Prides often camp near river crossings or in the tall grass beside well-worn trails, knowing that with enough patience, dinner will walk right by. The hunts are short and brutal. A burst from the grass, a roar, a chase of seconds, and then silence. The herd stumbles forward, -1. Leopards, though more solitary, use the migration to their advantage as well. With so many animals in motion, confusion reigns, and the clever cat knows how to slip into the chaos unnoticed. A quick pounce, a drag into a tree, and the feast begins, hidden from the eyes of hyenas and lions who might otherwise steal the prize. Hyenas, of course, thrive in the aftermath. They are the war profiteers of the migration, scavenging, snatching, and occasionally hunting outright. Their calls echo across the plains at night, a chorus of opportunism that sounds like laughter, but carries the edge of hunger. They trail the herds like shadows, cleaning what the lions and leopards leave behind, thriving in the blood-splattered chaos. And still the migration goes on. Across the savannah, every day brings new challenges. Broken legs, hungry bellies, lost calves, and fierce sun beat down on the herds. But they press forward, because to stop is to die, because the Mara calls and green grass waits, and because somehow they know that this journey, though fraught with danger, is their only chance at life. By the time the migration reaches its peak in the Mara, the landscape has transformed. The plains, once quiet and sunlit, are now carved by hoofprints, littered with bones, and alive with motion. The ecosystem shifts into overdrive. Predators grow fat. Scavengers multiply. Grasses are chewed down to the root. And still, the herds move. Eventually, the rains shift again. The Serengeti begins to green, and slowly the migration turns south. The crossing points empty. The river quiets. The crocodiles settle back into their mud. The lions resume their territorial patrols, and the Mara exhales. But the dust never truly settles. The tracks remain. The bones remain. The memories remain, in the predators who fed, in the survivors who limped, in the vultures who feasted. The Great Migration is more than movement. It is nature's engine of life and death, a reminder that survival is not just about strength or speed, but about the willingness to move forward, even when everything around you is trying to pull you under. In the grand script of the Mara, this is the most dramatic act. A season of chaos, stamped in hoofprints and blood. A time when the savannah shakes with life and death in equal measure. And as the herds vanish beyond the southern hills, the Mara waits for the next rains, the next crossing, the next chapter in this endless, breathless ballet of motion.
When the heat begins to dance on the surface of the Mara plains like invisible fire, and the grasses crackle underfoot like parchment, the giants emerge. Not with stealth or surprise, but with an undeniable presence that seems to press the air around them into silence. The elephants and rhinos of the Maasai Mara don't need to announce themselves. The land acknowledges them automatically, like an ancient kingdom tipping its crown to royalty. Towering, thick-skinned, and almost mythic in stature, these creatures walk slowly, thoughtfully, like they carry the weight of more than just their own mass. And in a way, they do. These are the old souls of Africa, the keystones of their ecosystems, the sculptors of the savannah, and yet despite their size and power, they live each day under siege, navigating not just predators and drought, but an enemy far more unpredictable: us. Elephants are the architects of the Mara. Each time they walk through a forest, they reshape it, pushing down trees to feed on their bark, digging waterholes with their tusks and trunks, carving new paths into dense vegetation. Where elephants move, the environment changes. Sometimes it flourishes, other times it struggles, but it always responds. These gentle titans don't just exist in the landscape, they engineer it. They are family-bound creatures, marching in tight-knit herds led by a matriarch with a memory longer than most human grudges. Her knowledge is everything: routes to water, seasonal shifts, places of danger and safety, all held in her head, passed down like oral tradition through generations. Watching an elephant herd is like observing a living village in motion. Calves stumble between their mother's legs, swatting at flies with ears too big for their faces. Teenagers jostle and play with awkward strength, mimicking the trumpets and mock charges they'll one day need. The older bulls, often solitary, patrol the edges of the herd's path, or loiter in bachelor groups, like moody uncles, waiting for an invitation to dinner. They aren't just animals roaming from food to food. They're communities navigating a continent that seems to change faster than they can keep up with. And it is changing. The Mara is drying in some places, shifting in others. Waterholes vanish faster during dry seasons, and with human settlements encroaching at the borders of the reserve, elephant corridors are narrowing. What was once a vast, uninterrupted range is now a maze of boundaries, some natural, others not. Elephants, who travel vast distances with the memory of where the water used to be, are now forced to squeeze through tighter and more dangerous territories, where human farms, fences, and frustrations wait on the other side. Though adult elephants have few natural predators, they live with the constant threat of poaching. Despite decades of global outrage, the ivory trade is still alive, thriving in dark corners of black markets, fueled by superstition, status, and staggering greed. A single elephant's tusks can fetch thousands of dollars, making them a walking fortune for those willing to spill blood in the shadows. Even protected areas like the Mara are not immune. Poachers move with silence and calculation, often operating at night with sophisticated equipment. A gunshot in the darkness is all it takes to bring down a giant, and by morning what's left is a carcass with a bloodied face, tusks gone, families scattered. And then there are the rhinos, less visible, more solitary, and even more at risk. In the Mara, spotting a rhino is like witnessing a living relic. Broad, horned, and prehistoric in posture, the black rhinoceros moves through the brush with the kind of caution that only comes from centuries of being hunted. Unlike their elephant cousins, rhinos prefer privacy. They are not herd animals. A rhino might go days without seeing another of its kind, yet it still senses the dangers that surround it, constantly sniffing, twitching, and pausing at shadows. It knows it is not welcome in the world it now walks. Black rhinos are browsers, feeding on leaves, branches, and shrubs. Their hooked upper lips are like pruning tools, perfectly evolved for nibbling with precision. They wander alone, mostly at dawn and dusk, avoiding the blazing heat and the stares of too many eyes. Their eyesight is famously poor, but their sense of smell is acute, capable of detecting a human presence from far away. And in areas where poaching is common, that scent sends them fleeing. They don't wait to see if a figure in the distance is a tourist or a killer. They run, and rightly so. Rhinos are poached not for meat or conflict, but for a singular appendage, their horn. Composed of keratin, the same material as human fingernails, the horn is absurdly, tragically valuable. In some cultures, it's ground into powder and sold as medicine. In others, it's carved into ornaments, a status symbol to decorate shelves and fuel ego. The demand is as irrational as it is insatiable. A single horn can sell for more than gold on the black market. turning each rhino into a heavily guarded target. And so they are surveilled, tagged, tracked, and sometimes dehorned by conservationists, not to harm them, but to save them. In the Mara, rhinos now survive under constant protection. Rangers patrol their known ranges like bodyguards. Helicopters, drones, and camera traps monitor their movements. Anti-poaching units risk their lives in night operations to intercept illegal hunters. It is an exhausting, expensive war, fought on behalf of an animal that cannot ask for help and wouldn't trust it if it came. And yet, despite everything, the rhino still walks, still browses, still births calves and leaves prints in the mud, still refuses to disappear. But threats don't always come wrapped in bullets or greed. Sometimes they arrive disguised as progress. Expanding agriculture, tourism pressure, livestock herding, all chip away at the wild margins. Elephants raid crops when traditional paths are blocked. Frightened farmers retaliate. Rhinos stumble across settlements and get spooked. The line between coexistence and conflict grows thinner every year, and the weight of that balance often falls squarely on the shoulders of these giants. Still, these creatures endure. Elephants with their expressive eyes and mournful trumpets show signs of grief, of joy, of memory. They return to the bones of their dead, caressing them with their trunks. They mourn in ways that seem almost human, perhaps more so. Rhinos, while less demonstrative, reveal a quiet intelligence, a dignity in their solitude that suggests a creature not afraid, but deeply, inherently cautious. Both are reminders that size does not equal safety, and strength does not guarantee peace. As the sun begins to sink behind the Mara's rolling hills, a herd of elephants moves across the plains, calves tucked tightly between the legs of their mothers. A rhino in the distance turns its head at the sound of birds, then melts back into the bush like smoke. The predators are resting now. The poachers perhaps planning. The conservationists perhaps patrolling. But for this moment, the giants are moving. Not quickly, not silently, but with purpose, with survival written into every heavy step. In a land where the rules of life and death are often written in fangs and claws, the elephant and rhino stand apart. Not because they are above the fight, but because they have become symbols of it. Their presence tells a story not just of Africa's wild beauty, but of its brutal truths. They are the past, the present, and, if we are wise, the future. But that future is fragile. For every elephant spared, every rhino protected, a piece of the Mara is preserved. A thread in the fabric of life remains intact. And in this place where giants walk with caution and strength side by side, every footstep echoes louder than a roar. The Maasai Mara is known for its heavyweights, the lions, elephants, crocodiles, and hyenas that dominate nature documentaries and command reverent awe. But there is another class of killer here, one that operates with finesse over force, stealth over spectacle. These are the assassins of the underworld and the airwaves, the feathered and the slithering, the ones that do not roar or charge, but instead stalk, strike, and vanish with a clinical precision that leaves no room for error. In a landscape ruled by tooth and claw, these creatures prove that death can descend from the sky or rise silently from the grass, unnoticed until it's too late. Welcome to the realm of the martial eagles, secretary birds, and venomous snakes, the quiet executioners of the savannah. High above the plains, on a thermal current invisible to the naked eye, the martial eagle soars with the grace of a glider and the intention of a missile. Its wingspan stretches over 2 meters, wide enough to blot out the sun for any unsuspecting creature below. But this bird is not here to admire the view. With eyes that can spot movement from over 3 kilometers away and talons strong enough to crush the skull of a monkey, the martial eagle is as much a sniper as it is a raptor. It rides the wind in silence, scanning the earth below with predator patience, looking for the twitch of a tail, the flutter of a wing, or the careless scamper of a mongoose. It is not showy, it is not loud. It simply waits, and when the moment comes, it folds its wings and becomes a projectile, diving from the sky at speeds approaching 200 kilometers per hour, striking its target with the force of a sledgehammer wrapped in feathers. But it is not brute force that defines the martial eagle. It is efficiency. It knows how to break a hare's neck in one move, how to pin a small antelope without a sound, how to vanish back into the sky with its kill dangling from its talons like a warning to anything else with a heartbeat. These birds are not common, not loud, and not to be underestimated.
They are living contradictions, majestic in silhouette and merciless in action. Even baboons, notoriously bold and belligerent, keep their young close when martial eagles circle overhead. In the Mara, the sky itself is not safe. On the ground, another feathered menace stalks a very different warpath. The secretary bird, despite its almost comical appearance, long legs like stilts, a head crowned with a fan of feathers, and a strut that could rival a runway model, should not be underestimated. It is a raptor in disguise, a terrestrial bird of prey that doesn't fly to kill but walks. And it walks with a mission: to hunt snakes. Unlike the martial eagle, the secretary bird does not rely on aerial ambush. Instead, it covers ground like a machine on stilts, scanning the grass for the glint of scales or the flicker of movement. When it finds a snake, cobra, puff adder, or anything else foolish enough to move, it does not panic. It doesn't call for backup. It dances. With lightning speed and legs tipped with hardened claws, the secretary bird begins a deadly stomp, striking with such force that it can fracture a snake's spine with a single blow. Its technique is precise, calculated, and repeated until the snake is either stunned or dead. Only then does the bird dip its beak to collect its prize, sometimes even tossing the body into the air like a chef flipping pancakes. There is something absurdly theatrical about the whole display, and yet beneath the feathers and the flair lies the body of a killer perfectly adapted for its niche. Snakes that have slipped past lions and leopards meet their match in this long-legged harbinger of doom. But speaking of snakes, no chapter about hidden assassins would be complete without paying homage to the slithering arsenal that coils beneath the Mara's golden grasses. Venomous snakes are the Mara's most silent predators, masters of stillness and ambush, blending into the landscape with a camouflage so convincing it borders on sorcery. They don't chase, they don't roar. They wait, like loaded traps set by evolution, and they strike with a speed that defies belief. The puff adder is one of the most dangerous snakes in the region, not because of its aggression, but because of its silence. It lies in the grass like a discarded rope, perfectly still, its coloration matching the dust and debris of the savanna floor. When disturbed or stepped on, and this happens more often than you'd think, it delivers a venomous bite packed with cytotoxins that begin to digest tissue on the molecular level. It's slow-moving and thick-bodied, but its strike is among the fastest in the snake world, measured in milliseconds. It does not bluff. It does not warn. It simply bites. The black mamba, on the other hand, is the savanna's sprinter of death. Misnamed for its color, it's not black but olive to gray. It gets its name from the inky interior of its mouth, a flash of warning seen only in the seconds before things go very wrong. The mamba is sleek, fast, and terrifyingly smart. It can raise a third of its body off the ground and still move forward with speed and accuracy. Its venom is neurotoxic, shutting down muscle function and respiratory systems in minutes. Encounters with mambas are rare, but they leave an impression, on memory if not the bloodstream. Then there are the cobras, with their flared hoods and gothic grace, moving like silk along dry leaves and burrows. Some spit venom, projectile toxicity that can blind if it reaches the eyes, while others strike with surgical precision. They are worshipped in some cultures, feared in all, and serve as a chilling reminder that size is not the only metric of danger. A full-grown lion may weigh 200 kilograms, but a cobra the length of a walking stick can kill it if given the right opportunity. What unites these assassins, feathered and scaled, is their mastery of the ambush. They do not engage in battles of dominance. They avoid showdowns and rarely seek attention. Instead, they operate in the margins, the quiet spaces between trees and thoughts, where survival depends not on muscle, but on timing, not on noise, but on nuance. They have evolved to be precise, not powerful, and in a place like the Mara, where every shadow might hold a predator and every sound might signal danger, precision is everything. As the sun dips low and paints the plains in long stripes of gold and blue, the martial eagle finds its perch on a high branch, surveying the savanna like a general reviewing a battlefield. The secretary bird finishes its dance, one snake shorter in the world. And the vipers, the mambas, the adders, they return to the cool of their burrows, their bellies full and their presence unnoticed. The Mara sleeps, but not peacefully, because danger here is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it wears feathers, sometimes it moves like wind, sometimes it has no legs at all, but always it waits. And when it strikes, It reminds every creature, great or small, that even in a kingdom ruled by lions, the deadliest assassins are often the ones you never see coming. Now hit that subscribe button before a lion mistakes it for dinner, like the video Like a Hyena Likes Drama, and don't forget to check out our next documentaries, because the wildest stories aren't on Netflix, they're right here.